Hey y'all, this is Jay. Usually when we do our Healing Out Loud series, we take one question that was submitted or we take a series of questions that all have the same message and we tackle that. This time around, it's a little bit different. You see, there's a series of questions that had to do with coaching versus counseling. And so I decided that this time around, it's important that we don't lump certain questions together. You see, because I received another question and I thought it would be important to have its own segment for that. And so before we start, I just want to say that this question's heavy. It carries a lot of weight, and when I saw it come through, it about crushed me. It's a very heavy topic. It's a very vulnerable topic, a traumatic topic. And so before I get to my thoughts on the question, I do want to clarify. I want to kind of preface it by saying, just because based on the question, and I'm going to share some thoughts about it, but I don't consider myself necessarily an expert on anything. I don't consider myself necessarily special in any way. And sometimes when I talk about certain things on these episodes, I get very passionate, right? Because of my story and what I've gone through. And I have a heart for seeing people healed. And I have a heart for seeing relationships healed. I also understand that I may not have all the things to say, but I know that based on my experiences and based on my story, I have a heart for this and I have a passion for this. And I know that I can try to tell my story. I know that I can speak from a place of my pain and suffering. Excuse me. And that's what I'm doing, especially with these Healing Out Loud episodes. Y'all, these are when these episodes get the most vulnerable because these are your heart. These episodes are y'all laying your heart bare, sharing your vulnerability, your transparency. And while I am not an expert by any means, I know that my story, that my pain, my suffering, my trauma, and my healing, all of the things that I went through, I know that my story can speak into your story. And that's what I do. And so I wanted to preface this episode with that. But with all that being said, let's dive in. Let's unpack this question. Let's give it the space and the time it deserves. And so I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to share some of my thoughts. So the question was, since you seem to be an expert on healing, what advice would you give to someone that was groomed and taken advantage of by a mentor? Y'all, before I share some thoughts on that, I need to say a couple things. I don't have context. When questions are submitted, when y'all submit your questions through my website, I don't have context. Not all, unless you provide context. And whatever context I do get, I try to speak into that. And so I don't know the details. I just know in general some things, some thoughts that I have, some things about that question. And I could be way off, but two thoughts immediately came to mind. One, the way that question was started, since you seem to be an expert. My first thought was, maybe it's just a cry for help. Maybe it's I need help, I don't know where to go, and since you seem to be like this, I thought I should ask. That's one of my thoughts. That's one direction it went. And then the other direction it went was where it almost carried the vibe of being of me being lumped in with the person who caused this trauma. Here's what I mean by that. The pain that was caused, the trauma that was caused, the suffering that was caused, the thing that was done to you was by someone who you were supposed to be able to trust and who was supposed to be able to help and who was supposed to be able to guide you. And that feeling of being lumped in with this person who did this to you, because now I'm put in a position to try to guide and help. And that's understandable. That's normal. And I don't have any context, like I said. So I'm going to try to speak into this question. Regardless of that, I just wanted to share some thoughts on that part. But as far as me being an expert, I don't know. I don't claim to be an expert. I do know that my story has given me some insight into some things, and so hopefully, as I answer your question, I'll be able to do that. This episode is going to be different. Like I said, it's heavy, and it kind of wrecked me thinking about this, and I had a bunch of emotions. You know, if I'm honest, my first emotion was anger. If you know me, you know how I feel about this kind of stuff. So, with all of that being said, sorry, I know I kind of went off track a little bit, but with all that being said, I want to get to share my thoughts on this question, and it might be a little different than some of the other Healing Out Loud episodes, but I do just want to share my heart about this. So let me get to this question. So first, let me say I just want to pause for a moment. I want to acknowledge how brave you are. I want to acknowledge the bravery it took for you to even ask this. So I can't even begin to imagine how much courage it requires to type the words that you typed. I can't imagine the bravery it took for you to type that question and then submit that and put it out there. I also want you to know that I am so deeply sorry that someone you trusted, someone who was supposed to protect you, guide you, support you. I'm so deeply sorry that someone like that betrayed you, that someone like that did this to you, and they betrayed you in such an unimaginable way. It really just is heartbreaking, and it's not fair. It's not fair. You didn't ask for this. And I won't pretend to know exactly how you're feeling. But I do know that betrayal from someone you deeply trusted shakes your world in ways others cannot even fully grasp. We can't even imagine, especially if we haven't been through it. You know, it leaves scars that feel invisible to everyone else, but they're painfully visible to you. And it can make you question everything: your worth, your intuition, your ability to trust anyone again, including yourself. So as I pause, I hope that you would just let me sit here with you just for a moment in this pain. No rush, no easy answers, just a deep breath together in the middle of this mess that you're carrying. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. And it's okay if some days you're just barely holding it together. I want you to know something. I want you to know that what happened to you doesn't define your value or your worth. It does not define your value or your worth. It doesn't diminish your goodness. It doesn't diminish your beauty. It doesn't mean that you're broken beyond repair. It does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling so deeply wounded. You know, I want you to know that your pain is valid. Your anger is valid. Your confusion, your grief, all valid. And anyone who tries to rush you through this healing isn't truly seeing you. Healing from something this traumatic isn't just a linear process. It's not just cut and dry, or it's not just from here to there. And it certainly isn't something anyone else gets to put a timeline on. It's complicated, messy, and oftentimes lonely. But I want you to know, hear me when I say this, I want you to know that even in the moments when you're convinced nobody could ever understand your pain, there might be someone who genuinely cares. Genuinely, who will sit with you, not to fix you, but just to simply remind you that you're not alone in this. If I could theoretically do that with you right now, if I could sit beside you right now, I would gently encourage you not to carry this heavy burden alone forever. I know that this is easier said than done. Don't get it twisted. I am not claiming that this is simple or easy. It's easier for me to share my thoughts. And so I get it that it's easier said than done. But there's still truth in this. Maybe there's one safe person. Maybe that safe person's me, or another coach or counselor or whatever. Maybe there's that one safe person that you can cautiously build trust with, which is so hard to even grasp because of what was done to you and how it broke trust. But maybe there is one safe person that you can cautiously build this trust with, who can begin to walk beside you, right? Who can be with you through the darkness, right? Someone that's patient enough to earn the right to hear your story. None of us deserve to hear. I don't deserve to hear your story. You're brave. And if I'm that safe person, then I would love to do that. And if you would allow me to earn the right to hear your story, I just want you to know you're not alone. There's no rush. There's no rush to create that safe person, right? There's no rush to getting through this. It's just one careful, brave step at a time. What's the next right step? And it won't be easy, and that's okay. Because you have to understand, slow and messy is perfectly acceptable. But until then, if I'm not that safe person, but until then, I'm here. I'm right here. I'm listening. And I know this might feel differently than some of the other Healing Out Loud episodes, but this is serious and this is heavy and it's broken. And I just so deeply want you to know that I'm here and I'm listening. Your story matters deeply. You matter deeply. And I can hold that space for you right now, even on this episode. Your brokenness, your anger, your questions, your tears, every bit of it. I believe you and I see you, and I want you to know that. And in case nobody has told you lately, you are so very loved. There's no hurry in healing. Just know that you never have to walk through this alone again. And I want to share just a few more thoughts, because I can imagine the shame that you might be carrying. And I want you to know that this isn't your shame to carry. The shame you might feel right now doesn't belong to you. You see, shame has a sneaky way of convincing us that what happened was somehow our fault, that we did something to invite or deserve it. And then shame whispers lies like, you should have known better, or you should have spoken up sooner, or even like, you're somehow responsible. But here's the truth, and I need you to hear this. And I'm saying this with as much love and care and gentleness as I can. You didn't ask for this. You did not ask for this. You didn't cause it. You didn't deserve it. Someone else made the decision to betray you. They made the decision to betray your trust, to misuse their position and power. Someone else made the decision, the choice, to violate boundaries that should never have been crossed. That responsibility, that rests solely and completely with them, not you. The heaviness, the quiet humiliation you may have been silently carrying, it's not yours to bear. It's theirs. And yet, here you are, carrying it. It's heartbreaking because you've been left with the weight of their choices. But I want you to know, as hard as it might be to accept what I'm about to say, I want you to know that even though it feels like it's yours, it's not. And I would never ask you to suddenly put that shame down, because I know it's not that simple. I understand it's a journey, it's a process. It's messy, it's complicated. But what I do want is to invite you to begin imagining. If you would do this for me, just imagine, and just a little bit at a time. Start to imagine. I'm not telling you to get past it, to get over it, to move on. I would never ask you to do that. But I am asking you if you would just imagine for just a second and just a little bit that this burden of shame you've been holding isn't actually yours to hold. Slowly, gently, as you feel safe enough, I hope that you'll start laying down pieces of this shame that you were never meant to carry in the first place. You deserve freedom from this shame. Not because you need fixing, but because it simply never belonged to you in the first place. And I'll be here, believing in you, reminding you of this truth until it finally feels real. I want to end this episode by speaking directly to the person who submitted this question. Thank you. That was extremely brave. It took a lot of courage. And I know that it comes from a place of pain and suffering and trauma and brokenness. But I want to acknowledge how important, how brave, how strong, how wise it was of you to submit that question. Regardless of my thoughts, and trust me, I hope that what I shared on this episode, I hope that I was able to communicate my heart. I hope that what I shared could speak into your situation. Like I said, I don't have context. That makes it difficult already. But then the subject is heavy. And I hoped that I honored your question. And that I was able to communicate my heart into your situation. So first, I just want to say thank you. And I'm honored that you would even submit that question. You matter. You're important. Second, I want you to know it's not your fault. And you may have heard that 100 times from 100 different people. You may have even tried to convince yourself of that. And maybe you're having a hard time believing that, but I want you to know that it's the truth. It's not your fault. This was done to you. You didn't deserve this. You didn't ask for it. It's not fair. And you're not crazy. You're not wrong for feeling these things. All of the feelings, all of the things. It's okay for you to sit in it and be angry and scared and hurt and sad and all of the things. It's okay for you to sit in that. And thirdly, I want you to know that I would love to walk with you through this. I don't know if, let me say this, I don't know how my story will impact yours. I don't know how my story will speak into your situation. I know that I went through things in my life, including betrayal, not the same type as the question that you posed, but I've gone through betrayals in my life, and I've gone through different things in my life. And I know that I've healed from those things. But at the very least, I want you to know that you're not alone. You don't have to do this alone. And you may already have somebody that's walking with you through this. And maybe you just wanted to hear what I would say. And that's fine too. Because someone that's listening may need an answer to your very same question. And I know I'm speaking to you directly, but this is for anyone. But to the person that submitted this question, I want you to know you're not alone, and I would love to sit in this with you and walk through this with you. And if that's something that you might want to do, I can tell you a million times that it's a safe place, that this would be a safe place for your healing. I also understand how hard that must be to hear when your safety was violated. Your safe place was violated. Your boundaries were violated. Your trust was violated. So I do want to put that out there to the person who submitted this question. I would love to get more context. I would love to hear more of your story. I would love to walk with you through this. And so email me. Email me at unfeignedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact me through the website. Send me an email, reach out, connect with me, and just know that you're not alone. And I'm telling you this from my heart. It's a safe place. And it wouldn't be so that I can, quote unquote, fix anything. That's not what I'm about. Things get fixed, yes, when people walk into healing, but that's not what healing's really about. So I just want you to know that it's not about me trying to fix anything. But my heart is broke over this. And if my story, if my heart, if my experiences that I've gone through, if that can help, if that could facilitate some healing, and you're not alone, somebody's walking with you through it, then I would be honored. Y'all, like I said, this is heavy. And that's good. That's good because, like I always say, I want to create this movement of healing. And it's okay for us to not be okay. And if my story helps even just one person, or encourages one, or speaks to something, even just one person, then it's all worth it. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to these Healing Out Loud episodes. To the person who submitted this question, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. Just to say how brave you are for doing that. And as always, share this podcast with everyone that you know, anyone that you think would benefit or that would be helped or be encouraged or whatever it is. Share this podcast. Go to the website, unfeigned.org. Connect with me. Reach out. Let's continue on this movement of healing. Until next time, we'll see you then.